when you first lose someone you love, when they first leave, is really hard. Part of it is the uncertainty, and especially if they just leave without saying anything and you come home to an empty house and your kids and your wife are gone. The pain is excruciating, and you're spinning around looking for answers. You're trying to call people and trying to find out anything you can, and you're getting no answers. And so you're lying on your bed, you're sitting in your room, and you're lost. And amongst all that stress, you got to go to work as usual. You've got to try and keep your daily life going, and it's tough. And once that initial fear and once that initial shock wear off, you're left in this limbo. And I want to talk about that limbo today. And especially if you've got kids in the mix. You know, as you're going through the divorce process, or even as you reach the end of the divorce process and you actually get the divorce finalized and you're trying to move on to the next chapter, if you have kids in the mix, it never really ends. There's always that looming question of, will I be able to see my kids again? And if you're lucky enough to have access to your kids, then you're always worrying in the back of your mind whether that's going to continue and for how long. The reason why it's such a poignant point here in Japan is because of the sole custody law. And once you get divorced, custody is only given to one party. And that is usually the mother. In fact, 9 times out of 10. And also in Japan, if the mother removes the children from the family household and takes them somewhere else, that is not a crime. However, if you, as the person left behind, were to go to their new place and take the kids back, that is officially kidnapping in Japan, and you can get arrested and be in big trouble. So the kids go, the court deems that because they're with the mother and everything's going well, then that's the way it's going to be. And if you're lucky, you get visitation. Now, some people get visitation once a month, some people get once every 2 months. It really depends on the generosity of the mother. For example, hearsay situation, if a court was to state that the mother must give visitation to the father of the children twice a month, and the mother stopped doing that, the father would then have to go back to court to appeal the case, which takes time and it takes money. And then the court would say, yes, you've been a naughty lady, you must let father see the kids again. And she would say, oh, yes, I'm sorry, there was this, that, and the other, but I will now let the father see the kids again. And then if she doesn't, nothing can be done. There's no penalty, there's no crime, and it's a very painful thing. So I guess what the most painful thing is to live in that kind of limbo of never really knowing when you can see your kids again, and never really knowing if that's the last time, because it's all really based on your ex-partner's generosity. And it gets even more complicated here in Japan, because if your ex-partner chooses to remarry, then you lose any kind of access to your children potentially, because a new father is introduced. The new father takes over the financial burden of the family, and you may be continuing to pay money, although many fathers at this point stop paying money. And with stopping paying money, you lose your rights to visitation, and usually you end up not seeing your kids again. And in many cases, you keep paying money, but you also lose your rights to visitation, and you don't see your kids again. It's really down to that whole, in your heart, you're still a father, so you will keep paying even though you don't see your kids because they're still alive, or because you're not allowed to see your kids, do you stop paying? And in the future, your kids are going to turn around and be like, but you didn't kind of pay for me. And whether they'll come back around and reunite with you in the future is also a mystery. And we don't have that crystal ball available to find out what's going to happen. So sure, we live our daily lives with a mystery of what's going to happen today, what's in our future. But this limbo of not knowing if it's the last time you're going to see your kids, not knowing what tomorrow brings in your new single life here in Japan, and you are single. The moment you get divorced, you lose any paperwork to do with your kids. You have no kids on paperwork. You are liable for singles tax for being a single man, and you have to pay tax because you don't have any children. I know it's very difficult to deal with, but on top of that, today's video is about that anxiety that comes with being in limbo, and it's there. And once you go past that first shock of being left alone, you go through the divorce, which is very, very stressful. And I'm here for you if you want to talk about it. There's lots of people out there who are going through it. It's a horrible thing, but it's that anxiety that chips at you day in and day out that really, I think, gets you down, and it hits me. Now, I try my best to get out and walk, go to the gym, work out, do my job well, hang out with friends, but I do hit some slippery slopes where I have 3 days of being very down, perhaps too much drinking, and I get down and depressed in myself. And I think that when you're in that 3 or 4 days, you just need to accept that it is a time for you just to be a bit down and pop out of it again quickly. You want to get out of it as quickly as possible, but you also want to give yourself time to grieve for your situation. It's been 2.5 years for me, and I am still going through this kind of anxiety of, wow, I just saw my kids last week, and I just did a video last week about that, being a part-time father, and how that's a wonderful thing, but also something that's full of challenges. But yes, that whole anxiety with seeing your kids and having a great time and never really knowing whether next month you'll be able to see them again, or if that horrible thing that happens in many situations, the brainwashing will start, and suddenly kids that used to run to you, ask you questions, and be all over you, suddenly apparently don't want to know who you are anymore. And receiving that mail, which I pray to God I don't, receiving that mail from your children saying, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And not being able to get a clear response or a clear kind of reason from your ex-partner, and being shut out so suddenly is something that we see a lot here in Japan, and is something that I worry about. That anxiety, it's there, and I think you just need to recognize it. I think that you need to try and take every day step by step and realize that this is your life. And if the worst thing happens where you are not able to see your kids anymore, sadly, I think that for your own mental state, you do need to somewhat cut off and think about yourself as not having any children for the meantime. Straighten out your life, get yourself back on track, hopefully find a new partner, or build strength in yourself so that you are confident as a person, as a man, as a woman, as a person you want to be. Find yourself again, find pleasures in the simple things in life, taking walks, doing the gardening, playing sports, meeting new people, starting new hobbies, and bring strength back to yourself, so that in the future, if you are reunited with your kids and you are able to see them again, they see a strong person, not somebody who's lost their way and is in the dumps. So yes, as I said, thanks for watching this video today, and if this kind of story rings true with you, please subscribe, help me out. I'm a young channel trying to do my best to raise awareness and build a community around divorce and divorce in Japan. I'm going through it right now myself, so thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Stay strong, stay cool, nice to see you, thank you.